good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know what time you guys are going to catch this, but thank you so much for joining us. This is the She EmpowHers Podcast. I am Kimmah Lewis, the founder of She EmpowHers and the host of the She EmpowHers Podcast, where we bring real stories from real women with real transformations. We bring the real tea so that you guys can use those learnings and those experiences to transform your own life. I'm super excited about today's guest. I say that every time, but I swear I'm legitimately super excited about every single guest that graces us with their story and their presence. Today we have Miss Kennedy Cook. And for those who are not in Denver, Kennedy is a weekend morning anchor for the CBS News in Denver. Did I get that right?
You got it right.
I got it right. I might be slightly obsessed with morning shows right now because I'm currently watching the morning show on Apple TV with Jennifer Aniston. Dude, I have been binging that. So after this, we will definitely talk about what's real and what's not. Because I'm just like, this is very dramatic.
They do a good job. It's a little too close to work. I started watching it, but I'm like, this reminds me a little bit too much of the workplace. But no, they do a good job.
Listen, I'm literally obsessed. I've been having my husband binge it with me, so we'll talk about that afterwards. But Kennedy is a weekend morning anchor which I think is absolutely amazing because she's still so young and so early in her career, but she is killing it, y'all. So
thank you.
I am a proud auntie, honey. So we're going to talk about your story because I really think your story is so amazing. It has so many layers already, and your story is still unfolding. And I think, even when we did our pre-interview, I feel like I was learning from you and pulling from some of your strengths and some of your experiences. And I know that women tuning in will be able to do that too. So I'm going to go ahead and officially kick us off. And we're going to start with the question I ask every single guest. Who is Kennedy Cook? Not what do you do, but who are you?
Not what do I do, but who am I? Okay, well, for starters, Kimmah, I just want to say thank you for having me on the She EmpowHers podcast. I'm so excited to be here to talk all things, girlhood, career, and whatnot. To answer your initial question, we were just talking about how usually I'm on the receiving end of answering these questions,
Yes.
or asking the questions, I should say, as a journalist. At my core, I am a girl from the South Side of Chicago. If I had to put it very simply, those are my roots. I love Chicago. My family is Chicago down, mom and dad, raised in the Beverly Morgan Park neighborhood. I'm Chicago. I love people. I love animals. I love to see the world. Huge traveler here. I'm a Sagittarius, so I love, kind of giving things kind of bluntly as they are, but always with a dose of empathy and compassion. But yeah, I don't know how to put it. Come on, I know you're a fellow Bronco. We went to the same high school here. So just if you're from Chicago, you kind of understand that. And everybody says nobody's more obsessed with their city than Chicagoans, right? But you kind of get that, just that Chicago pride, right? Like we're down to earth individuals. We grind hard, we work very hard, and we play very hard as well. So I would say that's been instilled in me. As I mentioned, I went to the same school that you went to, Kenwood Academy High School. From early age, it's just been about, grind and showing up for your community and loving on those who love you. So I would just say that's me at my core. I love my girls, I love my friends and my family and my animal. I have a German Shepherd. His name is Chrome. He is the light of my life. That's how I would summarize who I am.
You have another baby. You didn't mention your succulent.
I do have a succulent.
So I read your bio.
Yes. So that succulent in the bio, we have laid to rest. Franklin is no longer with us, but I do have a new succulent, and I also have a house plant that I honestly haven't named. I haven't gotten around to it, but they're doing really well. Denver's super dry. So like cactus do really well here. Succulents do really well here. So I kind of just have them in my window soaking up the sun. So those are also my babies, but I guess my dog Chrome is like, I don't know, I gotta feed him and cater to him every day. That's a real baby for real.
Yeah, that's your toddler. That's your forever toddler.
Yes.
That's what I call dogs. Is your forever toddlers.
Just childish.
I love it. I love it. So you let the cat out of the bag. Yes, me and Kennedy went to the same high school, but clearly not at the same time. I think I got.
Oh,
I'm not even.
stop.
I'm not even gonna say how many years I got on you, girl, because I don't want to spill the tea. I don't want people to know how old I am.
You look
But
good. You look
thank
good.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. But we did go to the same high school, and I agree with what you said about like Chicagoans just have a different level of pride. I'm sure everybody feels that way about their city, but Chicagoans, specifically about their high schools, we are
Yep.
legit obsessed. So you will see
Obsessed.
people that are like they could have graduated 30, 40 years still talking about their high school
No, for real.
experience. And so I'm going to ask you about yours because I think, when we had our pre-interview, it seems like there were a lot of pieces from your high school experiences through your family and your schooling that really was like the foundation of where you are and who you are. So talk to us a little bit about what that was like for you in the South Side of Chicago, what your family dynamics were, and how that built the foundation for all the things you have been able to do up until this point.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could summarize everything, I would just say I feel very blessed. I feel like I've been very blessed. Grew up with a two-parent loving household. There wasn't a soccer game or a softball game or a dance performance that my parents ever missed. So that really just kind of set me up, just strong family history and background for me. At
Uh-huh.
Kenwood, I was pretty involved. Some might even go as far to say maybe a little bit of a teacher's pet. I don't know, but I was on student government. I was both junior and senior class president. So I'm responsible. I'm literally in the middle of planning a 10-year reunion, or not the middle, the beginning, because I guess I just told my age, but my high school reunion, my 10-year high school reunion is next year. So that's super exciting. But as you mentioned, right, the fact that we're still talking about, I have so many people that I've met out here in Denver, or even some of my other friends outside of Kenwood that are like, I'm never going back to my high school. And that flabbergasted me because how could you not go back? But you got to realize people did not have that Bronco Kenwood experience. Kamai, if you
Yeah.
know, Broncos,
If
if
you
you're
know, you
listening.
know.
So I would just say, I was super involved. I was on the softball team. I was in an organization called Focus, which was just really about, building up students, either extracurricularly, academically, personally, all of that stuff. It was actually kind of like a mini sorority, which we'll get into because I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So that was kind of like a stepping stone into that. But Kimmah was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
love everything about that school. I'm so excited to get back and see everybody and see, the next steps everybody has taken. And I think that high school really shaped me. I started at Kenwood in the seventh grade. So when eighth grade rolled around, it was
Wow.
time, to test and maybe see about anywhere else. And at a time I was like, maybe I'll try for Whitney Young. Everybody wanted to go to Whitney Young at the time. But when it came down to it, I'm like, I'm not leaving Kenwood. This
Yeah.
is my school. I'm
Yeah.
not leaving this school. And I stayed. So I was there for 6 years. I got some college credits knocked out the way early on. It was an amazing experience. So good.
And you know what? Let me just, I'm not even going to get into like the political part of Chicago or even how it is portrayed, but I just love how you just like shot down every single stereotype of what it's like to grow up in Chicago. Because like when you read the news and like you
Yeah,
hear people and they're like, "Oh, it's a war zone," and "Oh, the socioeconomic things," or "Oh, if you live on the South Side, it's this," but it's just like you clearly have not been to Chicago if you have not experienced the level of diversity, the culture,
exactly.
I mean, throughout the whole entire city. And so and just what like you said, like there's so much community, there's so much connection. And I think that that's kind of why probably people speak about their formative years so positively is because it is like having little families every single place you go in Chicago. Like there's no place that you don't go and you're like, "Oh my gosh." You go on the south side, you go to the north side, you go downtown, you're going to run into somebody. "Hey, let's go grab a drink unless I haven't seen you in so long." There is this belonging, right? Or this connection or this feeling of being seen. And I think I just wish that was I wish that people saw more of that so that they can see the Chicago that the people who actually live there sees. Because I feel like we get such a bad reputation. I mean, and some of the stuff we deserve. because it's some crazy stuff happening in Chicago for
Yeah,
sure.
for
But that
sure,
is
for
but
sure.
we're not a monolith just like any other major city. So I love that you talked about, your amazing experiences, how involved you were, how great the public school system is in Chicago.
Right.
But I think that even tees us up to my next question is like, so you had a supportive family, you had an amazing experience, and I think one of the things that I want to dispel with this podcast is, or just in general, is how what's the word? The duality of life, right? And so I think a lot of times
Let's talk about
people
it.
think that the input is always the output. Kennedy had an amazing upbringing and an amazing, beautiful family, mom, dad. She went to great school, had great experiences. That means everything was perfect,
It
right?
is that what that means?
Well, I think a lot of people think that that's how it's supposed to be. You check all the
Right.
box, so that means that everything is perfect. And I'm not going to spill too much tea earlier, but just talk about how that is literally not how life works.
It's literally not how life works, but I will say, Kamai, in
Yeah.
hindsight, even dealing with the trials and tribulations to this day, it's that
Hmm.
foundation, it's that family, it's that community. Anytime I struggled, whatever avenue that has been, there's never been a time where I could not lean on my village. And that in
Yeah.
itself has just been like very grounding and very honestly a blessing. It's a gift from God to be able to know that I have a village because I realize that not everybody has a village, not everybody has a village
Mm,
that they can lean on. There's nothing that I feel like I can't talk to my family about, ask my family about, which I honestly has changed over the years, right? So pretty strict upbringing. I wasn't allowed, in certain neighborhoods, and my dad didn't want me out at certain hours of the day. And of course, I'm younger, I'm giving him attitude, I'm rolling my eyes. Well, so and so's parents said that they could go to the juke joint. Well, you're not so and so's parents. And it was always a thing, right? But I'm older. I get it now. I work in the news
yeah.
where we do stories all the time on girls going missing and people being hurt and road rage
Gosh.
resulting in death and all this stuff. And it's just like hindsight is 2020, right? My family set me up for the best possible future. While that wasn't the case necessarily, I graduated during the pandemic. My family couldn't have predicted a global pandemic that would shut the
Right.
job force down, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I had a hard time stepping into the workforce. My parents couldn't have predicted that. Personally, I've had, ups and downs with these men. My parents
Yeah.
couldn't predict that, but at the end of the day, when I was faced with all of those trials and tribulations, I've never not been supported, and
Yeah.
that is a blessing from God, honestly.
Yeah. And I love that for you. And I think that that's so important, right? It's like having the foundation does not prevent you from going through trials and tribulations. What it does is teach you or support you or empower you as you go through the situations that life has. And so, like, I love that you have had such a supportive foundation and center. And I think it kind of speaks to how you have been able to navigate some of those trying situations that you have. Speaking of, going from Chicago, being in a very diverse background, having all of this
Yeah.
amazing support system, and then going to Iowa, which is literally the opposite of Chicago. So
Yeah.
tell me where you went to school again. Tell me where you went to school again for college. The University
So
of
I went
Iowa,
to
right?
the University of Iowa, yeah, and it's in Iowa City. It's about 2.5, 3 hours from or maybe more like 3 hours, 3 and a
Yeah.
half hours from
Okay.
Chicago.
Okay. Okay. And so culture shock. So that was one of the things that we talked about in your initial interview was the
Yeah.
culture shock of coming from the south side of Chicago to the University of Iowa. So let's talk about that a little bit. What was that like for
Let me
you?
just let me just start off by saying I'm very grateful that in this life we have terms to describe things. Like culture shock
Mm,
is the perfect description of that experience, right? Because
okay.
it's not racism, it's not exposure. It's literally culture shock. Like you're just not used to anything like this before. So as I just described, from the South Side of Chicago, went to high school in the South Side of Chicago. Kenwood was a predominantly African American high school. If any Broncos end up watching this podcast, you know that Kenwood was very ingrained in the Black community, but also
Yeah.
Blackness and African American culture. It ranges. It's so vast and so different. So I got all of that going to Kenwood, going to school in Hyde Park, a super diverse community. Made the decision to go to the University of Iowa because one, I thought I was grown and I wanted to get out the state, but I was like, I'm not that grown. I don't want to be too far from my family. So let's just like
Right.
hop one state over. A
Yeah.
lot of my friends ended up going to Urbana-Champaign or just surrounding schools, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna be brave and go to Iowa. I stayed at Urbana-Champaign because I'm like, this is where my people at.
Yeah.
Anyway, Iowa, get there. Um, Luckily for me, just God working the many blessings He has. The first year I was there was also the first year that they created a living environment called YGB, which stands for Young, Gifted, and Black. It was actually created by a Delta, one of my sorors. So when I'm feeling things out, you could stay on like the women in engineering floor or the LGBTQA floor. And then I saw Young, Gifted,
Mm.
and Black, and I was like, well, obviously, I am Young,
Right.
Gifted, and Black. So, signed up for that floor, was on that floor. That floor, I mean, we could have had a sitcom of our own, just like shenanigans in the hallway. We're freshmen. We don't know what we're doing except just having a ball. And I will say from my freshman year until now, not even the only people I talked to, but my line sisters, my closest friends, we were all on that floor. We were
Yeah.
all on that floor. We weren't even all roommates, but we were all on that floor. We have memories and stories for days. And if anything, on the note of culture shock, because it was nice to be able to come home to a hallway where you see people that look like you and you hear music that you listen to. And then you would go to class and you wouldn't have that experience. So I will say, on the note of culture shock, it was just nice being able to find community. And for anyone that might be listening or, in a place where they don't necessarily feel like they fit in, you gotta look for it. You gotta find it and you have to be willing to put yourself out there to experience
Yes.
it. And it might not look
Yeah.
like Kenwood Academy. It might just be a floor of 50 students, you know what I'm saying? But I mean,
Mhm.
how many friends does a girl need? Like, we're good. Like, I don't need that many friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, it worked out. And yeah,
Yes. Yes.
again, those are some of my best friends for life, my sisters. So I'm really grateful for that floor, but also, I mean, I'm clocking it now. I was definitely intentional. We talk a lot about intentionality. I didn't even
Yeah.
peep it at the time, but I was definitely intentional making that move to live on a floor like that. And I'm so glad I was, because it set me up to have a really good college experience in a place I might have not, because not everybody that went to Iowa that looked like me could say they had a good experience.
So what would you say surprised you the most about just good for good or for bad being
hmm
at the University of Iowa? Like what were some of the big surprises and some of the things that you learned outside of you got to be intentional about your community? Well, we going to come back to that cuz that's very important.
For starters, coming from Kenwood, they always told you that here at Kenwood, you're not just a statistic. And I always felt that. Like I felt the love with the teachers, Miss Brady, Principal Calloway. They were all like moms and aunties, right? I got to Iowa, which makes sense. Iowa is a Big Ten school, super massive university. But you're definitely just a number. Your teacher's not pulling you out the classroom to check on your mental health. Your teacher's not,
Yeah.
grabbing you and having a one-to-one conversation because they realize that your energy is off for the day. If anything, your teacher's pulling you because you got an assignment due on Canva and it's past the due date and they just trying to look out for you. That's kind of as good as it got, right? So I would definitely, just from an administrative student standpoint, it definitely did feel like I was a number, which I get because it's a massive institution, but that definitely
Yep.
was just like night and day. And they also told us a lot because Kenwood, I'm sure as you know, they really wanted a lot of their students to go to HBCUs because of that, because HBCUs
Yeah.
have the same kind of culture where they welcome you in and they make sure that you are seen and you don't feel that way. So I guess kind of pros and cons with that. On the flip side of maybe something more positive, I knew I wanted to go to a Big Ten school because I never liked the idea of, like, knowing everybody or
Mhm.
everybody being in my business, right? And while the Black community at Iowa was super close-knit and everybody probably was in my business, it also was great because, like, when you kinda wanted to do your own thing, you could go do that. You could go
Yeah.
on a hike with your friends and end up on the other side of Coralville in Iowa, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just
Yeah.
an opportunity to explore something different and kind of just get out there and I guess just be a number. So I hope I'm not contradicting myself, but yeah,
Nope, you're
on
not.
one end it was just like that I'm a Hawkeye, I go to this school X, Y, and Z, but on the other end it was like this is my first time really like experiencing freedom and like
Yeah.
nobody's super checking for me, but I got to be smart with my surroundings and who I hang out with, but also like this is fun, this is adventure, this is new, all of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean I think what you're talking about is just the duality of it, right? On one hand, it had its pros and it also had its cons. It kind of balanced each other.
Yeah.
Being the statistic balanced each other out. What would you say though? So you were on the Young, Black and Gifted. You also talked about being a Delta. Shout out for you. And I feel I also realized that I'm going to have to link some things in the show notes because we do have a diverse group and people may not know what a HBCU is. So can you please first tell everybody what a HBCU is?
An HBCU is an historically Black university and college and
Yeah.
university, which
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's not exclusive to Black students, but that's what you're really going to see on your campus. Black students, Black faculty and staff, and just a curriculum that's designed with African American and Black folks in mind.
Yeah, which is super, super important, which I love the fact that the school that you went to, which was a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution,
Yeah.
also made room and made space for their Black student body, which I think is just incredible because I think we're starting to see more of that now, but obviously, like 15, 20 years ago, that was not a thing. So, how do you think your experience would have actually been if it wasn't for being a Delta and having that sisterhood and then having that floor where you had that community where you could leave your hard day and come to a place to be seen? How do you think that would have shaped your experience?
Kamaya, I think about this a lot because the way I'm like, if I could do it over again, I would have went to a HBCU if I could have met my best friends and my line sisters. Like that's like the little asterisk, right? Because I adore every single last one of them, and I would never have not wanted to meet them. But if I could just grab them and drop them on Howard or Hampton's campus, that would be ideal, right? Um,
Yes.
I de- I definitely feel like because of the high school that I went to, an
Uh-huh.
HBCU would have just been more in line with what I was used to. But in this life, and this was something a lot of people in my community when I was making that decision kind of pointed out to me, the world is not a HBCU. And I have yet to work in a world where it's an HBCU. You know what I'm saying? So you have to learn diversity. You have to learn how to talk to people. You have to learn how to carry yourself and be confident and hold a
Mhm.
conversation in rooms where folks might not look like you because a lot of times that translates to comfortability. But in this life, you're not always comfortable. So you got to kind of build those skills. And I wasn't honestly doing it consciously at Iowa. I wasn't taking classes that were like, teach me how to be a professional in the real world. But I was in classes with, people I'd never been in classrooms with. And I think that really did set me up for experiencing different type of people. I had classmates from Germany and, a lot of different places in Iowa and down south and up north and Canada and all these places. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, I can be friends with someone that's not from up the street, 79th and Hosted. Like we can have this experience together
Yeah. Yeah.
because, that's the world we live in.
Yeah. No, I can whew, okay, so I can super, super relate. I have, in one of the recent podcasts that we released, we had, Mita Malik, who is a workplace strategist, and she's an author, and she's, Indian descent. Her family is from India.
Mm.
She was a first generation immigrant, I think it was. And she refers to herself as the lonely only. That's the term that she coined, and
Lonely only.
I love that term because it talks about what it's like to be the only insert here, right? In her case,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
the only Indian girl on her block. I think she said there were 3 other people of color in her entire neighborhood. You know what I
mm,
mean? And so I think we experienced that too, like, me growing up in Chicago, which can be very segregated if we're being
yeah,
honest, right?
mhm,
And
yeah,
so like if you grow up in on one area, then most of the people that you were with are black. If you grew up in one area, the other one is white. And you have to be really intentional about meeting other people, learning about other cultures. And so one of the things that I will say for me that I feel like benefited me the most is my mother was actually very intentional about exposing me to people outside of who looked like me. So if I was black, which I am black, I'm a black woman, my mother
you
made
are,
sure
you
that
are.
she exposed me to other like, I went to boarding school one of the years I was in high school where,
Wow.
like you, some of my classmates were from Chile. They were from Germany. They were from literally all over the world. And so it makes being in corporate so much easier when you're not, for the first time as an adult, trying to navigate a space with people who don't look like you, don't talk like you, don't use language like you, don't dress like you, don't go the places you go to, don't eat the same food as you. And so I love that you kind of touched on that. And I think like maybe you would have made a different decision. Clearly, I'm not here to say you did or you didn't, but I love for
Mhm.
you that you had that experience because I do think that there is sometimes we make decisions because we're like, I wish I would have done that, but it may not have been what we needed to do. Right. And so, like,
Absolutely.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, everything you're saying, you're speaking facts, and not to say, what my life looks like now would look necessarily much different, but another thing to touch on is just the network of going to a diverse school, the network that you're able to,
Girl.
build and bring. There's a Facebook group here. I have yet to actually go to any of the events, but it's literally called Iowa Hawkeyes in Denver. And they like meet up monthly, like Hawkeyes meet up
Wow.
and like we'll go watch a game at the bar and whatnot. And that's all the way in Denver because, while HBCUs, you have a really close knit community and everybody comes back from homecoming. Like the bigger the university, the more spread out
Mm,
you are, the more spread out you are. So I could imagine
yeah.
myself, taking a trip, I don't know, somewhere international and
Yeah.
searching on the World Wide Web any Hawkeyes here. And I'm sure there are. So
Yeah.
it's just awesome to be able to connect with people off the sole fact that we went to the same school in the cornfields,
Yes.
middle of nowhere, but walk the same halls, all.
Yes, yes. And so you graduated. You graduated for University of Iowa, and you
I did.
graduated during the pandemic. You said you had on a bonnet during your graduation, right?
We need a sound effect. We need a violin.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
I'll add it. I'll add it. Tell me about
Let's
that
do
because
it.
you went to school, you did your coursework, you got the grades. Shout out to you. It comes time for graduation. There's no graduation. There's no
There's no
graduation.
graduation. There's no celebration. There's no walking a Let me start off with I joined Delta Sigma Theta my senior year. So I was a Delta for 20 seconds before the pandemic kicked in. We didn't get to
She
throw
said
no
20
parties.
seconds.
We didn't get to
What?
host no events. It was nothing because the pandemic, I joined that fall and then the pandemic kicked off that spring. So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, yes, no graduation, no Delta. So, yeah, graduation season rolls around. I went back home for the physical graduation and I remember it the same laptop I have hooked up right in front of me right here. I watched my name get called on a screen, and I just remember I had just got a lash fill, I had just got my lashes done, and a singular tear just, like, ran down my eye. I had my bonnet on, I'm like, "This is my life." Wow. But on that same note,
Oh.
folks who I am just raving about this entire podcast, rightfully so. They set up one of those drive-bys that everybody was doing where people come and they'll wave and say congrats and have balloons and toot their horns socially distant. We did that. We had people over for food and just like dancing in the backyard. And honestly, come on, graduations, they be long. Okay. They take
Yes,
a
they are.
while. And I'm like, actually, I think I preferred it this way. Like in
Okay.
hindsight is 2020. I'm like, I saw all my friends, I saw all my family, and
Yes.
believe me and my line sisters and my friends, we celebrated the rest of the summer. Like
That's
the celebrations did
awesome.
not stop. We just couldn't
Yeah.
go anywhere, right? So we were in a
Yeah.
townhouse in Iowa, so we just made the best of that. But that was probably one of the best summers of college. And we made the best of it. So not ideal, and I would not say my college experience was really me like working it up to this one day. Like, obviously, the goal was to finish, right? Finish in 4 years.
Sure.
I did that. Thank you, God. But it never really felt like, graduation is this big, spectacular day. It has to be this amazing thing. It
Yeah.
just, if anything, if I'm being really honest, it just felt like, why me and my friends? Like, all of y'all got
Yeah.
to graduate. Even some people came back to do it. But, like, why me and my friends? Like, do we have to miss out
Yeah.
on that? So that was, like, really that feeling for me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, but I love what your family did, and I love that you were still able to celebrate it, right? It's like when one
Yeah.
door closes, you open another one. Like, no, the traditional thing
Yeah.
didn't happen. And if, like you said, if you've ever been to a graduation, a college graduation, you know that they are long and boring as hell.
They're so
Um,
long, and then once they call your family member's name, you're like, "All right, y'all, I'll see y'all at the car." Like,
right,
we gone.
you're trying to sneak out back.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
trying to sneak out back, take your pictures. You're like, I'll see y'all later at the after party. But I'm glad I love that your family still celebrated you. So you graduated, you celebrated the summer, and then what happened? What happened after that?
Graduated, had a great summer. We made us, a makeshift slip and slide pool party, did all of the college like things. But there was a part of me that was like, dang, I need a job. So I'm looking for jobs. I graduated with my BA in broadcast journalism and communication studies. So I'm looking for everything from social media marketing to reporters, multimedia journalists to PR, just like literally anything. And every single company was on a hiring freeze because of COVID.
Mm,
Nobody was hiring. Every time you reached
yeah.
out, you would get that just really annoying response. If you got a response, it was either ghosted or that annoying response that was like, we would be interested, but we're on a hiring freeze. And at this point, like, just don't respond to me or just tell me you hate me, because
Yeah.
that's just basically what it feels like. Honestly, that's what it felt like, right? So I had a fair share of some part-time gigs. I did end up writing for one magazine because I was relatively remote and I worked with a couple different organizations. I worked with a really dope organization called Humanize My Hoodie on their kind of marketing side of things. So definitely still actively working to get my foot in that door and continue to, hone my craft of writing and storytelling and whatnot. But I had to move back home. I had to move back home for about 10, 11 months. And at the time, Kamai, it felt very defeating. It felt very disappointing because I have friends with their teaching degrees. They're going to Dallas, Texas. They're going to be in hot Texas teaching and doing all the fun hot girl stuff. I had some friends. I had a friend go to New York City to go to law school. And I'm like, I have to go home. And the job I
Mm,
ended up doing for those 10, 11 months was not at all in line with what I just spent 4 years in college for. I went back home to be a nanny, so I
mm,
nannied for about 10 months. I was traveling all over Chicago, all different neighborhoods. I saw some really nice houses. I'm like, this is the best part of the job. Like, y'all living nice. I'm trying to get like y'all. But I was changing diapers. I was taking kids on walks. I was taking dogs on walks. Um, Realized that wasn't going to be the end all be all for me.
yeah. Yeah.
So I did that for about 10 months. Mind you, before Iowa, before I went to college, during high school, and even in Iowa, I was a RA, a resident assistant. And in high school, I was with Chicago Park District. I was a camp counselor. So I love kids. I've always worked with kids. So the nanny gig was like fitting. It was up my alley. I was able to get it because of that history, but it wasn't for me. Like,
Yeah.
nanny
Yeah.
wasn't for me. And it's so funny to like, see where I am now and realize like God is just so funny in his plans for you. He's just so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, always, always. It's just like it was a pit stop. It was a pit stop
Yeah.
until you got here.
It didn't feel like that in that moment though. I felt defeated. I felt like, that feeling where you feel like something should be a certain way, but you just can't figure out how to get there, or you feel like you're
Yeah,
stuck. I
yeah.
remember, and I shared this with you. I remember I was in my room back at my parents' house, and I literally, for the first time ever, this is going to sound so dramatic, but I think in that moment I had identified with the feeling of anxiety. So I get on
Mm,
YouTube and I'm literally looking up my symptoms like, what is anxiety? How do you know when you have anxiety? And I like
wow.
associated with everything in these YouTube videos and I just
Yeah.
started crying. I just started crying in my room. I just started crying. I was losing my mind. I was crying. I was like almost like on the verge of a panic attack. And my mom came in because that woman always comes in the exact moment I need her. She, baby,
Shout out
what's
to mom.
wrong?
Shout out to
Shout out
mama.
to mom. Period. End of podcast. Drops mic.
Yeah,
No.
that's
Um,
right.
and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I just told her, like, "Mom, I'm experiencing anxiety." And she just prayed over me. Didn't
I
even
love
say
that.
why this, why that. She was just like, "Let's pray." And we
Yeah.
prayed, and I felt better. I wouldn't say I necessarily felt like empowered or like ready to conquer the world, but I felt lighter after that moment
Yeah.
with my mom. So yeah, shout out mom for real.
Yeah. First of all, they there is a saying for those that don't know, you either need a praying grandmother or a praying mama. Those are the 2 key
Yeah,
ingredients for success. So I love that you have that. Is that like was that like a constant theme for you growing up is having your mom come and pray with you or pray for you? Like what role did that play in your development just generally speaking? Because we don't talk about that enough. Like people stay, they kind of
yeah,
like they don't wanna talk about religion or spiritualness, but we talk about everything here at the She EmpowHers Podcast. So, I'm just curious, what
absolutely.
part has prayer and your relationship with God played in your journey?
My mom, from as early as I can remember, she was having me and my brother pray, like getting down on both of our knees, saying the Lord's Prayer, and just praying. I remember I told her, I kept having nightmares at one point, and she was like, "Well, pray that you don't." And I started praying, like literally a part of my prayer to this day, at this very grown age, is like, "God, thank you for my friends, my family. God, can I not have any bad dreams tonight?" And I don't feel childish at all saying that because
Wow.
he
Yeah.
God provides and he listens, and that was the case then, and whenever I pray that I don't have a bad dream, I'm like, "You look at that, I don't. So thank you,
Yeah.
God," you know what I'm saying? But my mom, she's always been, yeah, just like a praying mother over us. I honestly think, to answer your question, a lot of her prayer over me and my brother, because it was us 2 in the house growing up, was a lot more kind of to herself, but there would even be days where I'd just be, I don't know, on my phone in my bed, and she'd just walk up with the holy oil and wipe it on my forehead and walk away. I'm just like, "What are we doing, mom?" Like, "Do you mind?"
She's
That's
like,
just
"No."
no. She's like, "That's just my mom," like, just very, like, standard Christian South Side of Chicago woman, and, of course, as I said earlier, as I get older, the more I'm starting to understand my parents and the sacrifices they made and all that they did for
Yeah.
us, but my mom,
Yeah.
like, there's never a moment where that woman has ever stopped praying for me, and she prays with me, and yeah, like, amazing.
Oh, I love that. I'll shout out to moms. I don't know if I will keep this
For real.
or cut it, but I had like a personal win. Let me see if I can find it recently because I also too am a very spiritual person and believe in the power of prayer.
Mm,
And I just finished my here, I'll show you real quick. My
let's see.
300th day reading the Bible girl. 300.
Oh,
300
period. 300 days straight.
300 days straight, yes, so
I love that for you. Congratulations.
thank you, because I too, especially, like, as I'm building out this business and starting something new with if you listen to the first podcast, I talked about when someone they asked, like, because they interviewed me and they said, "Where does She Empowers come from?" And I said it was a whisper from God, like, 13 years
Mm,
ago, you know,
wow.
God spoke to me and he said, "Your valley is your gift." And I took that to mean that everything that I had gone through, all of my experiences, was going to be a gift to
Mhm.
other women to help them in their journeys and in their stories. And that's how She Empowers was born. And so every day, every single morning, I get up and I say, like, help me do what it is that I'm trying to do. Like, I want to do justice to women. I want to be a support for women. I want women to be able to truly transform, and so that is my
Yeah,
why. That and every day, every morning, I'm like, "God, make sure I'm doing the right thing, and I'm
yeah.
honoring you and these women in this platform." So, shout out to God. And
Shout out to
so
God. Thank you,
thank
God.
thank you. So, you dealt with a little bit of anxiety over, you know, I went to school. I did not go to school to be a nanny. Temporary
I did
pit
it.
stop. Yeah, but
Yeah.
then something happened. So, as we are on our journey, you go from being a nanny to being on the news. So, tell us about that because I think on our pre-interview you mentioned how typically when you're interviewing for these jobs, you need reels. That really is like one of those things where it's like they want you to have the experience before you've actually got the job, which is crazy.
Yeah,
But
like crazy, right?
yeah, but talk to us about your story getting from when you were like, okay, all right, it's time for me to do something different. I'm ready. What was that?
Yeah, so I guess I left out while I was nannying, I was also doing the YouTube thing, which I loved. I was doing the
Okay.
travel vlogs and the get ready
Okay.
with me and the makeup and how I joined Delta and all this. And honestly, YouTube was doing very good. Like, for starting off on YouTube during the pandemic, in hindsight, you ever see those posts and it's like dang, this is all because I didn't do a dance on TikTok back in 2020 while I'm not famous like the rest of these people. Like, I feel like that sometimes because I feel like if I really would have locked in with YouTube, like
Yeah.
things just might have looked a lot different. I'm blessed regardless of that plan. But I was doing the YouTube thing and I had a segment on there because I love people and I love the culture and I love music, right? So I did a segment called Connected, like my name Kennedy
Mm.
Connected. And it was like when I would
Oh,
connect with, music producers or artists or just different, honestly, a lot of musically inclined, but also I spoke with kind of similar women to you, kind of women empowerment and self care, and a friend that was doing this big like date yourself type of thing. So I spoke with all these people on there, and that was really me showing interview skills, storytelling skills, and honestly, just like personality and being personable, and knowing how to talk to people. So when it was time to apply for jobs that were still very much so on hiring freeze. They're still very much so not getting back to me. The reel I created, I'd have to find it and send it to you. It's night and day from the current reel I have, obviously, because I actually have like a job on the news, but it was clips of me interviewing my cousins and my friends and, me, clips from me. Cause I was with, when I was in Iowa, I worked for DITV. It's the Daily Iowan TV. It was like the campus's station. So some clips from that. So it was really me
yeah.
just pulling together everything I could get. And just fast forwarding to when we were talking about network in Iowa and how it kind of expands everywhere. A former classmate, shout out Michaela, she sent me this job. She was like, hey, it's been crazy with all these like news stations on hiring freezes, but we're actually hiring. We're looking for a multimedia journalist, which, just quick definition, times are changing in the industry. You used to just have a reporter and a photographer, but now a multimedia journalist or MMJ is responsible for writing, shooting, setting up interviews, editing, all of that. It's the job
Wow,
of
that's
multiple people in
insane.
one. It's
Yeah.
insane, and it's a grind for sure, and it's definitely you see a lot more of those positions. I mean, I'm still an MMJ in Denver, mind you, but you see a lot more of those positions in those smaller news markets where resources are just a lot thinner.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's like, "We have a MMJ, multimedia journalist position open. I think you should apply." I applied. I talked with the news director back and forth for a while. He ends up sending me an offer, but the offer was very low. And
Okay.
everybody knows, and I think this applies for a lot of careers, but especially in broadcast journalism, that first job, Bookie, you are not Gil King, okay? You are not Vlad, you are not Nate, you know what I'm saying? Like it was never gonna give that. But this
Yeah.
this offer come my was so bad that my parents literally were like, no. And mind you, like I'm sure they wanted to see me the fruits of my labor and that degree I just worked so hard to get that they were also helping pay for, pay off. But they were
Yeah.
just like, no, like you can't live like that. I
Yeah.
was able to negotiate a more livable wage. Shout out to my brother. He's the numbers guy, finance bro. And I moved to Davenport, Iowa. So not Iowa City where I went to school, but Davenport, Iowa. I
Mhm.
moved there to be a MMJ and I was there for about 10 months. I was doing stories. They had me filling in at the anchor desk. So just, kind of a more bigger role, or I just kind of advanced there maybe a lot quicker than I expected, maybe management expected me to. Um, and yeah, it was an experience for sure. Back to Iowa. It was an
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you shot your shot. I love the fact that you did not let not having the traditional real slow you down, because I feel like sometimes, and there's a stat, I have to go and find it, but specifically with women, right? Like we'll see a job posting and we'll say there are 10 parts of the job description, the 10 criteria. If they don't meet
Hmm.
all 10, a woman won't she will not apply for it. Men
Wow.
will see that they have 3 of the 10 and be like, I'm definitely applying for it. Seriously, there
Mm,
is a study about that, right? And so
interesting.
I love the fact that you were just like, no, I can do this job. I have the necessary skills. Maybe I don't have an
Hmm.
official reel, but I can demonstrate my skill. And I think that's something that, like, I want to make sure that women hear what you did, because you said it so casually. You're like, I was doing YouTube. I was doing, but you made it work for
Yeah.
yourself. Like, you basically were just
Yeah.
like, No, I know I have the skill, and so you created a format that you can demonstrate that so that when the opportunity came, you were prepared. And I think that that's like
And yeah, just to add on to that, Kamai, I think as you're saying, I kind of just skimmed over that. I think it is important to note, just like what's going on through my mind or just even my body and my spirit through all of this, there was never a moment with that job or even when I got this opportunity to come out to Denver, which some may argue was a little advanced. I was very young when I came to Denver. There was never a part of me that felt like I couldn't do it. Like,
yeah.
do you know that
Yeah.
quote? I have to find it. It's so good. It's literally one of my many screensavers because I change it every day. It's like, who am I not to be fabulous and outstanding and amazing? Do you know that quote I'm
Love
talking about? I have
it.
to find it.
No.
It just talks about, oh my God, it's so good. I have to find it. It just talks about, people being afraid of their potential and people really being afraid to lock in because when you do that, the opportunities are endless. It's like, who am I not to
Yes.
be one of God's greatest creations? Who am I not to be who God created me to be?
Yeah.
And when you say stuff like that out loud, people might, I don't even care at this grown age. I don't care. People calling you cocky or too confident or
Yeah.
into yourself or whatnot. But what I honestly think it is just like knowing your worth. Like,
Yes.
moment where I felt like I couldn't do any of this. And even when it's time to look at next steps, like I just said in the Quad Cities, I wasn't no Gail, but like, girlfriend, I'm coming.
I'm coming for
I'm
you.
coming, Gail. Yeah, not for you. Like
Yes.
if we could be, besties, like I'm not
Well,
trying to
not
take
for
Gail's job,
you.
but if we
Not
could,
for not for you.
right.
Yes,
Like
yes, 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 yes.
I feel like I'm capable and I feel like
Yeah.
in my family, as we kind of open this interview, there's nothing that hasn't set me up to accomplish anything I put my mind to.
Yes, yes. And I love that so much, and I want for other women to hear you say that. Like, to hear you say it, to hear your story, and to also start to embody that, like, I can do anything that I set my mind out to do. Like,
Hmm.
I've never been scared of a no. I've never been scared of a no. Like, in my career now in other
Yeah.
areas, I might have been a little bit afraid, right? But, like, in my career,
Okay. Clock
even
it.
even in starting this business, like, I'm a first-time founder. I've never started a tech company, but there's nothing in my
Yeah, but you're
mind that
doing
made
it.
'cause I'm like you. I'm like, "Okay, well, what's the worst that could happen?" The worst that could happen if I don't do it is it never happens.
Exactly.
So
And you don't tap into your potential. And God doesn't want us to live out of fear. What if it fails?
yes.
What if it
Yeah.
don't matter? Then it fails and we pivot. You just gotta try it.
Yeah, and you learn so much even in the fail. Like I say, I have a son, and we talk about this all the time. And I tell him, like, I have learned more from my failures than my successes. I am here because of my failures. Because in those
Yeah.
moments, those are the times when I've learned something about myself. Those are the times when I've
Mm,
learned something about other people, either my deficiencies or my strengths. And I'm like, okay, next time I do it better. And then you do it better. And then you do it better. And you fail
yeah,
less as you go forward further, but those moments are just the failures are just as important as the wins. So,
they
all
are.
right. So you preaching good over here, Kennedy. Okay, so you got your first job, and then how did you end up in Denver? Because now you're in Denver, and remind me, Denver is
That's okay.
the 15th largest market.
Yeah. So it the rankings kind of change, but
Okay, okay,
at the time when I got this job, I think Denver was ranked like 15 or 16, and my previous market in the Quad Cities was like market 103. So just
okay.
for those that don't know, and
Yeah,
we journalists, broadcast journalists, we look at these. At the end of the day, market size doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're happy and you have like a livable wage and all of those important things. But top three markets are New York, LA, Chicago, and then
okay.
number maybe 300 market might be like middle of nowhere or some small town somewhere, right? So starting
Mhm,
in
mhm.
market 103, it was a decent start for sure. But a
Yeah,
lot of people, and this is just like word that like God's plan is God's word at the end of the day, right? Because a lot of management at my former station were saying, oh, yeah, people usually do like a 40 to 50 market jump. They're telling me, Vegas, we could see you in Vegas, we could see you in North Carolina, all these great cities that I would have loved to go to. So I'm applying for jobs in the 50 market, 60 market, Jersey, just different places, North Carolina, all this stuff. But then I see a job posting for Denver and full transparency, my geography, not my strong suit. I'm a journalist, not a scientist or whatever that might be. So I just I applied for this job in Denver, not really realizing where Denver is, not really realizing where Colorado is, how big of a market it
Yeah.
is. So I apply and I reach out to my current news director on LinkedIn. I said, "Hey, I just applied for this job. I'd love to connect." This is maybe at like 11 o'clock at night. Like I'm up, locked in, applying. She responds in 10 minutes and she goes, "I love your work. We have a morning MMJ position open. If this lights your fire, let's set up an interview." So I'm just like, I'm still kind of like, Denver, like, I don't know nothing about Denver. So I go to our powder room where a former coworker, mentor at the time, was in there. She was doing her makeup just like in the morning show, as you see, with like the lights and everything. And I'm just like,
Love
her
it.
name is Ann. I said, Ann, I applied for this job in Denver, Colorado, and the news director wants to talk to me, but it's for an MMJ position. So that means I'll have to carry a camera. And what if I slip off the top of a mountaintop and break my neck? Like, just being the dramatic individual that I just truly am. And she's doing her makeup, she puts a little contour brush down, and she turns around in her swivel chair and she goes, "Kennedy, do you realize how big of a market Denver is?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "Look it up." So I looked it up. It said market 16. And she said, "You need to message that news director back right now." And I messaged her back and had to figure out some ways to get here. But
That is amazing. Congrats. So shout out to the mentor for giving you that
yeah,
reality check and being like, girl, you tripping right now.
no, you're tripping. And I was tripping. I was so tripping. But honestly, come on, in that moment, because I had to figure out a way to get here, because the more I locked in and the more research I did and the more great things I heard about Denver and Colorado, the more I learned that I wanted to be here. And then I also learned, when Kennedy wants something, oh, she's gonna get her hands on it. She's gonna figure out a way to
That's
get it. So
right.
that was a
I
learning
love it.
lesson for me. That was like, when I want something, Imma figure out a way to
You're
get it.
gonna you're gonna make it happen. You're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
So what is your make it happen recipe? What is your make it happen recipe? When you're like, okay, I got my eyes on something, what's the recipe for you to get to it?
So I would definitely start off with prayer. And I think that Kennedy, compared to this Kennedy along her spiritual journey, that Kennedy was like, "God, please, please, please give me this opportunity. God, please let me land in Denver with the apartment and the job and the man and the dog. God, please, please, please." That was that Kennedy,
Yeah.
4 years ago. This Kennedy is, God, this is a part of your plan. God, if this is what you
Mm,
want for me, can we do this? So it looks a lot different now. That was very much like what I saw for myself, what I wanted. I'm here and I wanted to be here. So like, shout out God for hearing that, because he
mhm.
does provide for us, and wants
Yeah.
us to accomplish these dreams, and he puts these ideas and these opportunities in our heart. But I think I'm kind of at a place where I realize that sometimes what I want is not always what's best for me or what God wants for me in that moment. So the prayer, the make it happen
Girl.
prayer these days, looks a lot more like, if you on the same page, God, I'm locked in with you. But if not,
Yeah.
just give me the discipline and the discernment and the willpower to take not even that L, but to take that redirection and not be defeated, or not feel
Yeah.
like I'm not where I should be or want to be, and just help
Yeah.
me, because it's all about like mind shifts. Just help me, be okay with you keeping me here, or be okay
Yeah.
with things not going the way I think I really want them to go, because I'm learning a lot to just trust God and his timing on all of this life stuff.
Yeah. And his no is really a yes. We just haven't figured it out yet,
Mm,
you know? And it's like
that's real.
I've never wasted time on God's yes, but I have wasted time on my own yes. And so I would prefer his yes over my yes any day. Any day, any day. Okay.
And his
So,
yes feels so good. Because
yeah.
that's whose yes you want at the end of the day. You don't want nobody
Yes.
else's yes.
Honestly, like, not only do you not want anybody else's yes, but any yes other than his yes is a delay. Like, and I don't want a delay.
Mm,
I don't want a delay. I'm
right,
trying to get to where he should. Now, I'm not trying to die, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to get to where he wants me to
yeah.
get to. And so, like, what do I need to do
Right.
to make that happen? My favorite prayer is, "Thine will be done." And I just will say that and just let that be the prayer. Like, just whatever you have
Yeah.
planned for me
Very good
is
thing.
is the plan, right? Like, so I don't even need
Yeah,
to bore you with my BS today. Sometimes I will. I try not to. But I just be like, "That will be done.
I know. He
Have a great
knows.
job day." Yeah. And I get. So, the one
He
last thing,
knows. Yeah.
he knows all the things. The one last thing that I wanted to chat with you about, that we've touched on throughout this interview, which I've just enjoyed so much, just FYI, I've just really enjoyed talking to you, is sisterhood. So, one of the most important components of the She Empowers platform that I'm building is the circle. And the circle is really the sisterhood. This is where women get a chance to connect with other women who are on the same journey, who may have graduated from that journey, but women who can see them, help them experience what it is, and hold them accountable. So, talk to me about how critical your sisterhood, because you talk about, or at least on on our pre-interview, you talked about how some of the friends you had, like grade school, you still have those friends. Like, y'all are still in the group chat, all of that stuff. So talk to me about your circle and how important your circle has been for you as you've made these transitions from high school to college to your sorority to graduating to nannying to now being living your dream.
Sisterhood. I could just cry thinking about it, but I won't do that because my makeup is still on. Let me just say that everybody thinks that they have the best friends in the world. And sure, y'all can think that, but I know for a fact I have the best friends in the world. Like it's a known factor, and people outgrow people so often in life. You outgrow relationships, you outgrow friendships, you outgrow
Yeah.
jobs and cities and all that stuff. But I have I have friends from as early as like 6, 7 years old that I'm still friends with. One of my homegirls, Gina, she's coming to Denver this week and we're gonna grab dinner. And we were just 5, 6 years old, flushing Hubba Bubba bubble gum down the toilet and getting yelled at by her mama. Like, why would y'all put bubble gum in the toilet? We just like it's a science experiment. Why not? And I think a big blessing with sisterhood and the friend groups that I have and have cultivated up would always tell me, "Kennedy, don't mix friend groups." She would always tell me that. She's like, "You just wanna keep certain friend groups separate." But I never wanted to hear that because the girls get it, and I've mixed friend groups all my life, and the way I tell you my soror, your cousin Kina, she actually connected us. The way I tell you, I met Kina through a friend that I was since elementary school, and our friend group hangs out, and my line sisters know them, and now some of them live in Chicago. We went to St. Martin together, we went to Thailand together, so we've been across the world together, just
Wow.
combined groups of friends. We've been domestically on trips together. I told you earlier I used to stay visiting Urbana Champaign in college. I would bring my line sisters with, and that friend group would mix and mingle, and it was never any weird vibes, weird energy. It was never any, "I want your man." It was none of that, and I think
Yeah.
that's a blessing. I really don't know necessarily why that is other than, like, and I'm learning this with dating, right? You have to have, like, a mutual, um, foundation, a mutual foundation, mutual
Yeah.
standards and boundaries for yourself, and I think across all of my girlfriends, we respect each other. We really value humor. Like, I could talk about this all day. Girls are so much funnier than boys, and my friends are so funny. Like, we be kikiing. The silliest group of girls, come on, I kid you not. We're just silly. We don't take nothing serious. We're just goofy. Like, why would you say that? Why would you do that? Why like stomach hurting laughs? Like that's just always been the case for all of us. So we
Yes.
respect each other. We all, like, for the most part, love the Lord, are vocal about loving the Lord. We like to travel. We like to have fun. We're cute. Like, it just
Mm.
works. It just
Yeah.
works for the friend group. There's never really no hate and energy. If anything, you might run into that occasional, so and so's closer than so and so, but you get that because people might live closer or just go through a
Yeah.
season where they're closer, but that's never any dag to anybody else or what someone else might lack. So we just get it. We get each other and we love each other, and literally me and you live next to each other in those houses, the girlies, we gonna live in a cul-de-sac together, and we just gonna be sharing sugar and popsicles and helping little Jimmy on his bike and all of that, you know? It's gonna be great.
Love it. I can't wait for us to live in our big houses and do big things and travel together and then share sugar and butter. So, since you have this friendship thing on lock, what's the one tip for being a good friend? What is your tip? Like what do you think that important thing is?
That's a great question. So I would say me at this age in this season of my life, I would say the one tip for being a good friend is just showing up. A lot of
Mm,
us don't live in the same city, so it's hard to, like, show up necessarily, but when you think of someone, reach out to them. When
mm,
you and I was not always good at that, let me be honest, like, I moved out to Denver, and I kinda isolated myself because I was alone out here, and I felt alone, and I let that translate to, like, how much I talk to my friends, but we've locked
mhm,
in, we've had these, like, heart-to-heart conversations, like, "Girl, if you don't pick up the phone and call me because we all are going through our own individual stuff, and I think something I've always said and I really genuinely believe is like a lot of this life stuff is not about us. So if I'm having a conversation about you
mm,
and you're talking to me about something super hard and challenging and traumatic you went through, I'm not about to make it about myself. I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna ask you how that made you feel. I'm gonna get in my therapist bag because therapists don't make things about themselves. They ask you to unpack it. Like, let's talk through it. So many people just like are so quick to be like, yeah, girl, that happened to me. You'll get through it. Like, listen to me, like, just listen. You don't have to say nothing
yeah,
right now, and I think that that's just a big thing, like, take yourself out of it and just show up for your homegirl, like, listen, if you need to provide some comic relief, but don't make stuff about yourself because it's not about you, and when it's gonna
yeah,
be about you, it'll be about you, and that's your
yeah.
time, but that's not your time all
Oh,
the
I'm
time.
clipping I'm clipping that. That's going viral. I'm clipping that. That is tea.
Thank you. That's what
That
I'm
is
saying, people
tea.
men do that too. You ever like, I know you're married now, but like when you're dating, and that's how I like reel them out when they just want to talk about themselves the whole time. And it's just like, if you're getting to know someone, you should be so curious. Maybe that's the journalist in me, but like, I want to know. I want to know what you got going on and your experiences and
Yes.
how they shaped you this way. We have a long time to make things about ourselves. Like, it just doesn't have to be that all the time.
I love that, and you know what? Imma work on that too, because I'm definitely the person that if you and I do it because I'm trying to let the person know that I empathize, but I do
Right.
tend to say like, "Oh, I completely understand what you're saying. I had a similar experience, and I understand what it's like to feel that way." But
Right.
not everybody it's not always the right time, and so, don't make
Mhm.
everything about I'm definitely clipping that, and I'm gonna share it. Okay, I said that was gonna be our last question, but no, I can't leave the girlies without some tea about the news. So you have to tell us one good story, like news story that you were like, "This blew my mind." Like, so tell us your one, "I will never forget this news story."
Ooh, I will never forget. There's so many. People are let me think. Oh my gosh, there's so many that blew my mind. I mean, my mind is blown in a lot of different ways. So, like, Colorado, unfortunately, is one of the top ranked states for road rage resulting in death. So we do a
Really?
lot of stories on a minor fender bender that will result in someone following someone off the road and shooting at their window. So that always gags me because I'm just like, nobody's a
Wow.
perfect driver. I'm certainly not. So when I'm driving out here, I'm keeping my head on swivel because I'm like, y'all not about to chase me off the road because of anything like that. So we have like a good amount of like those stories and traffic stories. I guess there was this video, and it's on my Instagram. So if folks want to find it, I did a story on it. But there was this landlord that was really just out here bullying people, if we have to put it frank. But there was a video of her basically, she threw herself to the ground and acted like she was hurt. She's on the ground, like, oh, you hurt me, my body. But what she didn't know was that the lady who she was trying to claim put her hands on her, which she never touched, her son was on the staircase recording the whole thing. So in this video, you literally see this woman throw herself on the body, like, oh, you hurt me. And the lady's literally standing over there, just like clear as day, didn't touch this woman. And the story ended up being this whole scandal about how this landlord would ask for rent money weeks before the first, and how she was taking it upon herself
Wow.
to change the locks, just like a crazy scandal. And I think while there are news stories that gag me and like gag the community, the best part of like exposing people, for lack of better words, is you really get to help the person that's been wronged out. And that's
Mm,
what I love the most about the job, like the helpful part. Like
yeah.
people can think what they want about the news, and that's fine, but I think from the journalist side of things, when you can help someone solve a
Mhm.
situation, get some money back, help a friend, help someone sick that's been injured, like the job is done. Like we're
Yeah.
good. That's why I'm doing
Yeah.
this. Like I'm not just doing
Yeah.
this to be on TV and put on makeup every day. Like it's fun being cute, but I want to help people. Like people be
Yeah.
going through it.
Yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful, and I never thought about it from that perspective. But like, I think that's amazing, and shout out to you. I think you're amazing. So, tell
Thank
everybody
you.
where they can find you if they want to follow you, if they want to keep up with you, if they want to DM you and slide into your DMs and be like, "You're amazing. I love you. I'm a
Oh,
fan." Where do they do that at?
My handle on Instagram and TikTok, those are like the main socials that I use. I'm on Facebook too, my professional page, but it's Kennedy Cook Live. So first, last name, live, because I'm live. My line number is 5. I'm a live 5. I got a lot of energy. I'm a Sag. I'm always like ready to go. So that's me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kennedy. This has been an absolute pleasure. I have learned so much listening to you. Love your story, love your journey, and I do hope that people take away all of the food for thought you gave us, specifically about friendships when you told us about being intentional and not making things about us. When you think about people, reach
Yeah.
out to them. I am working on my own sister circle, so I will take some of those learnings back with me. So
Come
this
on,
has
sister
been
circle. Join the party. Join the cul-de-sac we all
yes.
gonna live in.
Oh, well, my that's gonna be my other sister circle because I'm gonna have my virtual sister circle. Then I'm gonna live next to Kennedy, y'all. Kennedy is my new
There you go.
bestie. So thank you guys for joining in. I hope that you enjoyed this talk with Kennedy as much as I have, and that you learned something from her. Please follow her on at Kennedy Cook Live on TikTok and on Instagram, and please go to www.sheempowers.com and check us out as well. Join the waitlist. Platform's going to be dropping soon. And thank you. And with that, we're out. Bye.
Thank you.